You're listening to the Bloodshed Baddies. Hi, I'm Lex.
And I'm Sam.
And we are the Bloodshed Baddies.
Hi, baddies.
Woo, 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 woo. Hello.
What's up?
What's up? So, for y'all, you're in the future, but we just had Thanksgiving. Sam, how was Thanksgiving and your Thanksgiving weekend?
Good. We were just super chill, my husband and I. We like to go camping with friends usually is what we do, but we had a little bit of a change of plans. So we just had a nice chill time hanging out together. It was chill. I liked it. What about you?
That's fun. It was good. It was good. We always go to Dustin's dad's house. And this year he don't know what happened, but he invited a lot of people. So some of our friends came, some of their neighbors came. It was a party this year. It's usually a pretty small get together.
That's fun. I love
But
that.
we ate by 2 and we're all almost asleep on the couch by 4. So I was home by like 5ish.
That's also pretty darn nice.
Yeah.
As a certified old person, I think getting home by 5, woo, can't beat it.
Yeah. Can't beat it. Okay. Well, I've been waiting one whole week to hear the other half of the story, just like the baddies have. We didn't do this one 2 in a row. So I've been thinking about it literally all week and wondering how on earth you're going to make this a full episode because it felt like it was pretty much wrapping up at the end of the last one. So go.
All right, hopefully you guys didn't Google this, but like Lex just said, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, that's part one of this. So stop here and go listen. If you did, here's a little recap real quick to keep us fresh. But on July 19th, 2014, Daniel Markel just dropped his young children off at daycare and then he went to the gym. As he was pulling into his own driveway, he was murdered, shot twice at point blank range. It was clean, and police did not have much to go on. There was some speculation that his messy divorce with his ex, Wendy Adelson, had something to do with it, but there was no evidence pointing there, and Wendy had an alibi. It wasn't until about 2 years later that an arrest was finally made, seemingly out of nowhere, in someone that seemingly had no connection to Daniel Markel. The FBI and police arrested a Sigfredo Garcia, and a month later, documents in the murder case were released that show that he probably had an accomplice, Latin gang leader Luis Rivera. Well, after the arrest of Sigfredo Garcia, a reporter reaches out to Wendy about her thoughts and feelings on the arrest, and Wendy surprisingly promptly sends an email back, basically saying she hopes there's some closure in the case, but little did she know this case was far from over. So people are confused by Sigfredo's arrest, and no other arrests are being made in the case, and this kind of angers the police department a little bit. So they get a little messy in like a good way.
Oh,
Yes. And they release an affidavit on June 2nd after the arrest. The first thing in the sealed affidavit is the connection between Sigfredo and Luis. So Sigfredo and Luis were actually childhood friends. Because Luis was already in jail for that federal raid with these new charges, he was facing the death penalty, and that obviously put him on a bad spot. So he decided to cooperate and tell his side of the story of what happened.
ooh.
So what is Luis's story? Well, he told police officers that he and Sigfredo actually went to Tallahassee twice. The first time was in June. Luis believed that the job was to rob someone, like drug dealers, because I guess that was like a thing he did. But it wasn't until he was in the rented car with Sigfredo that he learned the real reason they were going to Tallahassee. Sigfredo told him they were going to murder someone.
Oh,
Yeah, can you imagine like,
can you? I was just gonna say, can you imagine like, hop in, sis? Where are we going? we're gonna go murder somebody.
I would be like, pull over, please.
I need to make a stop at the gas station. They just like run away.
While in Tallahassee this first time, they tracked Dan down, but that is basically all they did. They followed him for about a day and a half, and then Luis said he got nervous and they decided to bail on the hit. They didn't speak about it again until a month and a half later when they went back to finish the job. Now, they rented that Prius to drive this time, and while in the car, Sigfredo was actually in the back seat playing with the gun, and it went off and went through the floor and through the gas line, and they actually had to stop off and fix the gas line themselves.
Okay. For a professional hitman, seems like a silly thing to do, but who am I?
Not very smart. Sigfredo and Luis then get a motel and drink and stuff, and the next morning they are sitting outside Dan's house. This is just like so eerie and creepy to me. Dan comes outside with his 2 young children, and they follow him as he drops his children off at daycare.
No.
Scary.
Yes.
Dan then goes to the gym. They follow and wait there, and then they follow him when he gets out of his driveway. When Dan pulled into the driveway, Sigfredo and Luis pulled the car right behind his, so like he can't back out.
Mm-hmm.
And Sigfredo jumped out of the car and proceeded to shoot Dan twice at close range, like that quick. Sigfredo and Luis then leave, and they never talk about it again. But again, the police are like, okay, but like, why did you do this?
Yeah. This wasn't for fun.
No. So Luis told the FBI that he and Sigfredo were getting the money for this hit from Katie.
Okay.
Katie was Sigfredo's girlfriend.
What?
Katie was allegedly the middleman for everything. Now, apparently, Katie and Sigfredo were very on again, off again, and they also had 2 children together. But Katie allegedly told Sigfredo, "You want me back? You got to do this hit."
Whoa, 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 whoa.
This is an insane ultimatum.
Wait, she has kids with Sigfredo?
2. Katie has 2 kids with Sigfredo. They have a very like toxic on and off again relationship.
Okay.
She was like, "You want to get back together with me? You better do this hit."
And he's like, worth it.
Katie's worth it to him. On the way home, Sigfredo called Katie and said, "It's done. Make sure you have my money. I'm on my way."
Okay.
Now, when the FBI and police were putting this story together, things get interesting. So in the documents that were leaked, we see that the FBI actually wiretapped their phones. So on May 24th, 2016, Sigfredo called Katie, his girlfriend, and tells her that, "Oh my God, the FBI just showed up to my work."
Over the phone.
Yes. And Katie's like, "Oh my God, the FBI was actually at our apartment." But Sigfredo is like, "Don't let them in without a warrant." So Katie obviously doesn't. And then Sigfredo was arrested 2 days later.
This is. I don't even know the word.
Yeah, like what's the connection? Who is Katie this middle person for? Because Katie just doesn't randomly be like, "Oh, go kill people for random people for me," right?
Yeah, like, especially like to get back together. I just none of this is making any sense.
It honestly doesn't seem. It seems like it could be a movie.
Yeah.
Well, Page Six came out with a story around the time that the affidavit came out. And they said that around the time of Dan Markel's murder, Katie was involved with Charlie Adelson, Wendy Adelson's brother.
Oh my God. I knew it. I knew this guy was shady AF.
The affidavit also proves that law enforcement was heavily looking into the Adelson family. After this affidavit becomes public, the Adelson family's lawyer released a statement saying, quote, "There has been a lot of unsupported speculation that the Adelsons have something to do with the murder. That speculation is categorically false. To be clear, none of the Adelsons, Wendy, her brother Charlie, or her parents Donna and Harvey had anything to do with Dan's murder.
But his girlfriend just happens to?
Yes.
His girlfriend just happens to be involved in it? And he had no involvement in it? Okay, wait. So let me just talk this out real fast. Dan is getting the divorce from Wendy.
Correct.
Dan ends up murdered.
Correct.
Wendy's brother makes a joke about a hitman, which I said I could see myself making. And then we talked about it. And I'm like, hey, maybe not.
Yes.
And then years later, we find out Dan was dating this girl, Katie, who was also dating the hitman that killed, That's right. That's
yes.
It? Okay.
Yes. So it is like this messy web of, Lexi just explained it correctly, of mess, essentially. They also left out the older brother. So it might be like, duh, they were looking in the Adelson family, but like what caused this speculation? Well, remember I mentioned that they were like wiretapping the phones, the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in early 2016, the FBI also wiretapped Charlie's phone because they obviously found out this connection. On April 19th, Donna called her 39-year-old son, Charlie, and is very concerned because she was stopped by someone in the street named Sammy. This Sammy guy asked Donna for $5,000. And Donna is like, we need to meet. But basically, this Sammy guy told her that she owes his family for something they did for her family. And he gives them a piece of paper, which she opens up, and it's an article about Dan's death.
What?
Yes. So, like, blackmailing Donna, the mother.
What?
Now, this was actually a setup. Law enforcement calls this a bump, basically, to provoke suspects into giving themselves away. Sammy is an undercover cop.
Sammy.
And the FBI are watching this whole interaction. And when Sammy asked Donna for the money, Donna like clutched her chest and took a few steps back. So after this, law enforcement sat back and they waited for the family to react. And Donna called her son Charlie right away. After Donna calls Charlie, they meet up and talk. And then Charlie meets up with good old Katie at a pizza place. Now, they were able, the police and FBI, to get some audio of this meetup, but it was like trash audio.
Mm-hmm.
But Charlie is telling Katie about the guy and says, quote, I give you money, you call them on the phone. He tells her to deny knowing anything, but pay them anyway just for charity since they really need the money.
Okay.
What a joke.
Yeah.
Someone blackmails you, give them money just for the charity. But you don't know anything that's going on, but just give them the money anyways.
Oh my God.
Charlie then tells her if this truly is the police, they can't take the money. So he basically thinks the police like frigged up a little bit. But he says if it isn't the police and the Sammy guy is who he says he is, maybe they should kill him because he's going to be a problem.
Wait, Charlie says that.
Yep, to Katie. A couple minutes after Charlie Boy gets up from the dinner with Katie, he calls his mommy Donna and says, quote, I gave that friend the relationship advice and everything is good.
Okay, so mommy's in on this.
And it appears that they are now like speaking in code, like probably understanding that they are being wiretapped, right?
Yep.
But Sammy, aka undercover cop boy, will not go away. Katie does seem to turn to Sigfredo for help, but they were in a fight at the time. Again, they're super on and off again. So there's no evidence that he ever helped her or called Sammy or got involved with the Sammy situation. Donna, the mother, also then receives a letter at her home, I believe from who they believe to be Sammy, and she calls Charlie freaking out. And her son is like, you need to calm down. I'm taking care of this the best I can. Sammy then calls the Adelson Institute, which is the dentistry place that they work at, Charlie will end up calling Sammy at one point, but says nothing incriminating, basically, on the phone. He's like snaking around the whole thing. Charlie is suspicious, but is pretty sure this is someone just fishing for money. But then he calls his mommy, of course, and then Katie, and is actually really angry that Katie is not following through and doing what he told her to do. At some point, Charlie and Katie are pretty sure their phones are being tapped, kind of like what I said before. So they start talking in code, just like he did with his mom. And at one point on the wiretap, Katie literally says, "I'm sick of all this code poop." But like she obviously said S-H-I-T. But she like admits to it on the phone.
So they're like, we have to talk in code. We're probably being tapped. And she's like, I'm so fucking sick of this code shit. I can't keep up with it anymore.
Basically. She just got overwhelmed.
I feel like I, in that aspect, can relate to Katie.
Yes.
I'd be like, oh my God, I don't get it. I don't get it. I keep forgetting.
I didn't write this one down. I forget what that means. But this is obviously sketchy. And after doing some digging, police find out that there was also a spike in income for Katie. Looking at her cash flow in the 12 months before the murder, Katie deposited $15,000 into her account. So this is the 12 months before the murder.
Yeah.
In the 12 months after the murder, Katie deposited $44,000 in small cash increments. That's a huge difference.
It is, but like, what if she got a better job? What if she wasn't working?
Well, they also see Katie is getting paid every 2 weeks, and her checks are being signed by Donna Adelson.
What?
Wendy's mother. Katie was actually on the payroll at Charlie's dental practice. So the FBI show up, and they're like, hey, let me see her employment records. Why is she on the payroll? But Katie is not on the work schedule, and she never filled out the application. So what the poo is her job, and why is she getting paid?
You think you would at least like have her come sit in front of the phones?
No.
Just like for looks. Like twice a week. Just have her name on the schedule and have her like sit there.
Yep. Not only do the police notice this like spike of income, the FBI also notices that Katie also got a new car in this time frame that was previously owned by Harvey Adelson, Donna's husband and Charlie's dad.
Stop it right now.
And in a phone call that was tapped, Charlie offers to put Katie's name on their family boat.
What?
Why, you might ask? I don't know. Oh, and one more thing. Katie got a boob job, and allegedly she paid for half, and good old Charlie boy paid for the other half.
Okay, I still can't get the name on the boat. Like, money, yes, you set this up. A car, yes. Buy our car from us. Even like a boob job, okay, we'll help with that. Why the name on her? What is that? Like, how does that benefit her? My boat's called Katie now?
Cool. I don't know. Reassurance? I don't know. And also, I think they meant, I'm gonna pee. They meant like on the title.
Oh, I thought you said they named the boat after her.
Maybe they did both.
I'm stupid.
I'm obsessed. It's all confusing. But also in this May 26th affidavit, investigators stated that Markel's murder likely stemmed from his ex-wife Wendy's family's desperate desire for her to relocate closer to them in South Florida, taking their 2 young children after that bitter divorce with unresolved custody disputes. Per the affidavit, Dan was killed ahead of an unscheduled court hearing where he intended to request restrictions on his children's contact with Donna Adelson, whom he alleged had made disparaging remarks about him to his sons.
Donna. Also, okay, I don't know how involved Wendy is in this whole story yet, obviously, but if I found out that my parents and brother conspired with this Katie girl to get my ex-husband killed so I could move there, I would move to the other end of the country instead.
How insane. And then now knowing that like Dan and like, yes, we talked about in part one how they were both being very petty with like what they were doing. But Dan is like trying to restrict his kids' contacts with Donna. And if you remember in part one, Wendy told the police right away, like, my mom's never said a bad thing. So like obviously this was something ongoing that was stressing everybody out. And then he gets murdered by someone who had a relationship with her son. That's like, come on.
Yep.
So with all of this information, obviously, police believe that they have at least enough to move forward with the arrests of Luis, Sigfredo, Katie, and Charlie.
Wow.
Yeah. However, the state prosecutors decide to only go ahead with the arrests of Luis and Sigfredo over the summer of 2016.
I kind of get that because they probably don't have like enough. Everything's kind of circumstantial.
True. They do have some wiretaps, though.
Yeah, but also like, yeah, she's the ex-girlfriend, but then like that doesn't mean that's what happened and that's why she had the car. That's all circumstantial evidence. It's
Fair.
good circumstantial evidence, but it's if they're going to prosecute him, they probably want more.
Very fair. Very true. And that's basically where we ended in part one. But like the police are waiting, like, okay, are the prosecutors and like all that going to make more arrests? And no other arrests come. And the state attorney is like, well, kind of what you just said. I have to prove in court. This is a lot of hearsay evidence. This made people in the police department upset. So this is why they released that affidavit to the public with all that information on there. So now the public's angry and they're like, what the heck? Why aren't these arrests made? Sadly, after this arrest, Rob Adelson, which is the older brother who lives in New York, stopped talking to his family altogether.
Good for him.
Yeah, and remember, there is some bad blood there, but Rob says that every time he tried to talk about it with his family, like Dan's murder and what happened, they would dismiss it or they would say they don't want to talk about it. And Wendy one time was like, you only care about who could have done this. And Rob was like, well, yeah, I do. I want them to get caught. Like, that's the whole, I'm stressed about it, basically.
Yeah.
But anywho, the charges don't come after this affidavit comes out. In late September, though, there is a breakthrough. In exchange for Luis's confession and corroboration, they will tack just 7 years onto the 12-year sentence he was already serving. They think this is going to aid in the arrest of Katie, and then they were hopeful eventually Charlie as well. On October 1st, 2016, Katie was finally arrested. And then on October 4th, Luis pleads guilty. Now, Katie was actually offered an immunity deal to offer her story up and have a tighter story on Sigfredo and Charlie, but she rejected it. Her lawyer said that since she wasn't involved, she didn't need this deal.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That, I don't know how this ends, but that's probably not the smartest decision she could have made.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. Because there was all that evidence, like, come on. But now for the trial for Katie and Sigfredo, they were actually combined. So they were tried together.
That's weird.
I know.
Because, like, yes, they conspired together, but, like, Sigfredo actually pulled the trigger.
Katie was the middle person.
To me, they shouldn't be tried together.
I agree. It was kind of weird. And, like, if you think about it, like, even the case that I just did, the Alexis Crawford case, they committed the murder together and their lawyers got them to not be tried together. So it's just, like, weird. But their trial did not take place until September 2019, and it would end in October of 2019. Katie and Sigfredo both faced first-degree murder charges, and the death penalty was on the table for Sigfredo. Luis was a witness, and Katie's lawyer basically just tore him down, saying he's a gang leader, he changed his story a couple times, and that he was just saying Katie was involved to, like, sweeten the deal.
I can't believe Katie wouldn't get first degree.
I know. But they're basically just trying to discredit the witness talking Katie down. They want to, like, talk Katie up.
Yeah.
In court, the prosecution puts a lot of blame on the Adelson family, which is interesting since Charlie or anyone from the Adelson family hasn't been arrested. The Adelson family is not at court. However, Wendy is a witness. They do call, like, subpoena Wendy to come. They did give Wendy immunity, basically, just what she says cannot be used against her. This isn't full immunity, though, and it doesn't protect her from charges if other evidence shows.
Okay.
In court, Wendy does admit on the stand that Charlie made that joke, because, of course, they bring that up. Because if you remember from part 1, he made a terrible joke about getting Wendy a TV that was cheaper than hiring a hitman. And Wendy is a lawyer. She does very well on the stand. Besides, at one point, she was like, they weren't going to arrest me, and then, like, did, like, a nervous giggle. But, like, she could have just been, like, nervous. Like, they're talking about her brother and her family, and she's in face with her husband's killer. Also in court, Katie is called to the stand. Katie goes to the stand.
This is wild. They let her on. This is wild. Who the hell was her lawyer?
This girl's wild. And she denies everything. They talk about her children, who are at the time of court age 12 and 7, and her jobs, and they're basically just trying to humanize her, of course, to the jury. She says that in 2013, she kicked Sigfredo out, and that is when she started working at the dental office and met Charlie. She says her and Charlie started seeing each other casually, but she admits she was still sleeping with Sigfredo at this time. Her defense claims that Charlie arranged the murder with Sigfredo without her knowledge.
How?
So her defense says that Charlie asked Sigfredo to murder Dan in exchange for money and that he would break up with Katie.
I'm to assume that he went through Katie's phone and got Sigfredo's number and was like, this guy will kill my sister's ex-husband.
I am to assume that as well. And he said, hey, Sigfredo, you do this for me, I give you money, and I break up with your girl, you get Katie back.
Okay, maybe. I mean, I okay, yeah.
Seems a little bit of like a ballsy situation. Like, I don't know anyone who would think the ex would just be complicit in that and not go to the cops with what they have, but okay.
It smells like tuna in here all of a sudden. Very fishy.
It was a terrible dad joke. So on cross-examination, though, the prosecution, of course, brings up all of this evidence, including the payroll and things of that nature. Sigfredo Garcia does not testify. Court ends, and the jury begins to deliberate, and they get an answer for Sigfredo first. Sigfredo is found guilty.
I mean, good.
Yes.
Also, that lawyer was smart not putting him on the stand.
Yes. Katie starts crying like a lot, and then Sigfredo leans across the table and is like, I love you, Katie.
Ew. Ew.
I just can't with them. Her team will say that Katie cried because her children's father was found guilty and the death penalty was on the table, not because she was guilty too. I mean, who knows?
Okay. Maybe both can be true. Maybe it's not one or the other.
Yes. Sigfredo will eventually be sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years for conspiracy.
Okay.
But the jury goes and they deliberate for more time, and they come back, and for Katie, there is a mistrial. They could not make a decision.
Oh my effing God. This is why you don't try them together. This is why you don't put her on the stand. This is, I guess that lawyer is better than I thought because he got what he wanted.
Lexi takes back her insult lawyer. So Katie's retrial was scheduled for April 13th, 2020. But of course, COVID. So it got postponed.
Oh, Jesus Christ. This girl has got the luckiest streak in the entire freaking world at this point.
Then her retrial got rescheduled for October 4th, 2021. But then because of the Delta variant, it's postponed again until February 14th, 2022. But then it's postponed again.
No.
Due to them wanting to enhance the audio from the restaurant back in 2016. Remember I said it was trash?
You couldn't have done that over the last year that this thing was freaking postponed.
True. And it is annoying it's postponed again, but it seems to be very helpful because before the retrial begins, April 21st, 2022, Charlie Adelson is finally arrested and charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation.
Wow.
But we will come back to this because finally, May 16th, 2022, the retrial for Katie begins. After 8 hours of deliberation on May 27th, 2022, Katie is found guilty of murder, conspiracy, and solicitation, which is exactly what she did. You should be. On July 29th, 2022, Katie is sentenced to life in prison.
Whoa.
Plus 2 additional 30 years to run consecutively with her life term.
Wow.
Yes. Now, it is believed because they cleaned up this audio for Katie's trial, that's how they got enough evidence, like I said, to finally arrest Charlie on April 21st, 2022. Some say it's also because there was a different prosecutor in office that was like, nope, we're going after him. Yeah. Now, there was some delay in the trial date because they wanted Charlie's parents, Donna and Harvey, to testify in it. But the prosecutors end up dropping their subpoenas, and the defense waives the right for calling the parents to testify. And on October 26, 2023, the day before his 47th birthday, Charlie's trial begins.
Holy macaroni.
During the trial, prosecutors allege that Donna Adelson, Charlie's mother, was one of the masterminds behind Dan's murder, and she helped fund the contract killing, which Luis Rivera testified that he and Garcia were paid $100,000, for which they split with Katie, Charlie's ex-girlfriend, who, again, set up the deal. Now, even though her parents didn't have to testify, they call Wendy back, and she's on the stand where she testified for 3 hours. She said on the stand her family was not part of this murder for hire. She said Charlie made the joke, but never told her he was serious in doing this.
Wait, sorry. I just want to back up a minute. $100,000 was the total?
That's what Luis Rivera said on stand.
I'm sorry. I'll never be in this position, but I think I would need more than $100,000 split 3 ways to kill someone.
And it seems like Katie was getting a little bit more from the deal, from all the boats and boob jobs and cars and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Charlie himself also took the stand.
Whoa.
He obviously denies everything. He said the state was wrong about a lot of things. He basically said after the murder, Katie came to him and was like, "This is all my fault. I spoke too much about your family and the $1 million you wanted to offer Dan, and a friend of mine killed him and now wants money, and if you don't pay, you'll be next."
That is more asinine of a story than that Dan went to Siguardo behind Katie's back.
They all have, like, not they all, I guess only Dan and Katie, but they have these ridiculous stories.
Literally, Katie was like, "I spoke to my hitman ex-husband about your family and he just killed him, and now you gotta pay us."
Yeah, so
What?
Charlie says he gave her everything in his safe, which was $138,000. He said he was too afraid to go to the police about this.
Charlie, my man. My man. We need to get you a lawyer who's got better cover stories.
On November 6, 2023, after only 3 hours of deliberation, the jury in court find Charlie
guilty.
Guilty?
They just wanted a snack. That's why they waited 3 hours. They all got in there. They're like, "Yeah, that was bullshit, right? Okay."
They found him guilty of murder, conspiracy, and solicitation. On December 12th, 2023, Charlie was sentenced to life in prison plus 60 years for conspiracy and solicitation. Of course, he is trying to appeal these convictions, but it doesn't appear that he is being very successful in this, which is good.
Gonna appeal.
I know. Now, a week after Charlie's guilty verdict, on November 13th, 2023, Donna Adelson and her husband obtained rushed visas and booked one-way tickets to Vietnam.
To Vietnam.
Vietnam is a country without an extradition agreement with the U.S. Shortly before this, Donna was caught on a recorded jail phone line with Charlie discussing her research into countries without extradition agreements.
This family,
Idiots.
not a crime family, that's for sure. Box of fucking rocks over here.
Thankfully, at the Miami-Dade International Airport before she boarded the plane, Donna is arrested by the FBI and other authorities for first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation.
Let's go.
State Attorney Jack Campbell told the outlet that her plans to leave the country are what forced their hand in arresting her.
Yeah. Dummy.
Now, Donna,
I'm gonna go live in fucking Vietnam. I can't get over this. I cannot get over this.
it seems like a movie.
It won't look suspicious at all if we buy one-way tickets to Vietnam. Fucking buy a ticket back and don't leave. I don't understand.
Now, Donna's trial was pushed back a couple times. Once on the day of jury selections because her defense team withdrew due to conflicting interests, which I'm not really sure.
They were like, fuck this bitch.
We ain't getting her off.
I'm not doing this anymore.
But her trial gets postponed until August 19th, 2025.
Oh, that's recent.
Yes, with opening statements starting August 22nd. Prosecutors' main goal was to prove that she tasked her son Charlie with handling the logistics and helped fund the plot, which again cost over $100,000. Donna counted on Charlie to solve problems in the family, including Wendy's ugly custody battle. Now, Donna's defense team said in their opening statement that there was no evidence her client planned the contract killing or helped fund it, and it was her son that paid the hitman. So they're putting all the blame on her son, which is interesting. But there was, in fact, evidence, and let me just run it by you real quick. There was an email that Donna emailed her daughter saying, quote, "It's time to take control of your life and not let Dan think he just won anything by having you remain in Tallahassee, 8 hours away from the only family you have, and lose out on what will be a job that will afford you and your children advantages that they will never otherwise be able to enjoy." She also wrote, quote, "Let's show this expletive what will make him absolutely miserable. You know his weak points: money, religion, control." Also in the email, Donna allegedly wrote that the rest of the Adelson's life would be affected by how well Wendy could, quote, "perform an act before July 31st. She said, quote, "You can be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action." The alleged email continued, quote, "You need to put on the performance of your life. Dan hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet."
This is aggressive.
Can you imagine getting an email like that from your mother?
This is psycho. This is narcissistic. This is I don't understand why if you want to be close to your daughter, you can't pick up and move 8 hours yourself.
Especially because Donna and her husband, they sold the practice to Charlie. So realistically, I'm pretty sure that they would be able to.
Yeah.
Also stated in this episode, about 4 months before Markel's death, Markel filed that motion in civil court to bar Donna Adelson from having unsupervised visits with her grandsons. Dan claimed that his former mother-in-law disparaged Dan to his kids, writing in the motion that the kids said, quote, "Grandma says you're stupid. She says you're trying to take her sunshines away from her. And, quote, Grandma says she hates you."
Oh my God.
Remember, Dan was murdered before this motion could be resolved. And then Wendy moved with her kids to South Florida days after his death.
Grandma said he's trying to take her sunshines away from her. That's
Yes.
fucking-cotic. This lady is a full-blown narcissistic sociopath.
It's insane. According to the affidavit, on the night of the murder in July 2014, text message records show Donna Adelson had texted her son, quote, "outside your house." On the night Charlie and Katie exchanged money, Charlie told Katie that his parents had just dropped off the money before she arrived.
Okay.
Katie testified in trial and said that she never worked for the Adelson Institute, even though she received those checks, the ones that were handwritten and signed by Donna Adelson. She also said that Charlie told her that his mother had, quote, washed the money and it was damp and moldy, like she physically washed it.
Stop it right now. Stop it right now.
That's what Katie said in court.
I hope that's true. That's so dumb.
Can you imagine my mom washed this money and it's actually washed? What a ding dong. What ding dongs. But Donna's lawyer will claim her son directed her to put Katie on the payroll, basically claiming again Donna knew nothing about it. But like, if your son came to you and said put her on the payroll and pay her for doing nothing, why would you do that?
I can't even think of a funny joke reason.
They also had as evidence the sting operation and those conversations tapped between Charlie and Donna. And let's not forget, she tried to flee the country.
That one too.
But after a weeks-long trial on September 4th, 2025, the jury, in just over 3 hours, found Donna
guilty
of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation of murder in the for-hire killing of Daniel Markel.
These juries are just like, the 3 hours is so short for a murder case.
100%. They literally just went in there like, so she's guilty? Okay. The judge is like, you gotta at least give it 3 hours. On October 13th, 2025, Donna Adelson was sentenced to life in prison.
Now it's a family affair in that jail.
Yes. And now it will be interesting to see if Harvey Adelson will also be charged, and same with Wendy Adelson. But so far, no other arrests or charges have taken place. But in total, 5 people so far were convicted in Daniel's murder, including his mother-in-law and brother-in-law, which is just wild to me. Lex?
This whole story be wild. Huh?
Now, through all of this, I think it is important to point out that a man, a father, a son, a boyfriend, an ex-husband was still disgustingly murdered, leaving 2 kids fatherless and honestly with a lot of hurt from their own family.
Yeah, they're going to grow up and realize what happened. Like now they have no family. Like instead of just having family 8 hours away, now they have no family.
Yeah, and on the podcast I listened to, it said that they hadn't seen their paternal grandparents in quite some time. So there's just a lot of hurt all around, and I just hope the kids are okay, getting the help they need, that like Wendy was not in fact involved at all. Just terrible. But if any light were to come of this, linked in the show notes is a website called Justice for Dan. It is a grassroots organization dedicated to advancing justice in his name and memorializing his life and scholarship. They also serve as a credible source for trial updates, etc. But they aim to help a new set of students and legal scholars carry on Dan's legacy.
That's awesome.
And that is the insane murder for hire plot of Daniel Markel, baddies.
Family affair sometimes, I guess.
I just literally could not believe it. So like Leah sent me this like Instagram video of like the mother-in-law being blamed. So this is like my first thing. And the mother-in-law is like in jail or in court. And they're like, you're guilty. And then I dive deep into this and I'm like, this is such an insane story. What the crap?
What the crap, indeed. Nothing else to say at this point besides what the crap.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed it.
That was wild. Thanks for listening. Yeah, wherever you're listening right now, please give us a follow. Make sure you're downloading those episodes. Give us a nice little review. Also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Bloodshed Baddies at all of those places.
You can also send us an email with a case suggestion or story. We love doing those. bloodshedbaddies@gmail.com. We have some coming up. Intro music made by our awesome cousin Vinny or Vinny Pellioni. Look him up on music platforms. Tell a friend. And tune in next week for a Lex episode.
And next week is not Christmas for us, but I think it'll be Christmas the week you're listening to it.
I think you're right. Maybe?
I think so.
If not soon.
So, almost Merry Christmas to you baddies.
Woo! We love you.
Bye-bye.